Welcome to Fazza Poetry World, where hearts turn into poetry. I need you to understand something very clearly, something that does not come from confusion, nor from attention, nor from the noise of people who speak without knowing. It comes from silence. It comes from clarity. It comes from a heart that has finally stopped running from its own truth. I choose her. And I do not say this to convince anyone. I do not say this to argue with the world. I say it because the world has become too loud about things it never truly understands. People speak as if love is a public property. As if hearts are meant to follow rules written by strangers. As if emotions are supposed to ask permission before they exist. But love, real love, never listens to noise. People look at older women and they speak too quickly, too carelessly, without ever sitting inside their story. They call them names that have nothing to do with reality. They reduce their entire existence to shallow assumptions. They forget that behind every woman is a journey the world never saw. A journey filled with nights she survived alone. A journey filled with mornings she still chose to smile. A journey where she broke quietly but rebuilt herself without applause. They do not see that. They only see age. But I see life. I see a woman who has lived through storms and still chooses gentleness instead of bitterness. That is not weakness. That is not emptiness. That is a strength most people never reach, even after years of living. Because it is easy to be kind when life is soft. But it is rare to remain kind when life has been cruel. She is not a child. A child does not carry memories of heartbreak and still knows how to trust. A child does not lose things and still know how to love again without fear consuming her. A child does not survive disappointment and still choose softness over anger. She is not a child. She is someone who has learned the language of life in its hardest form. And that is why she understands love differently. Not as entertainment. Not as escape. Not as temporary emotion. But as responsibility. When she loves, she does not scatter her heart. She places it carefully, fully, consciously. She does not play games with attention. She does not chase validation from the world. She does not turn emotions into performance. Her love is quiet, but deep. Her love does not shout. It stays. People say I should choose someone my age, as if age is the measure of emotional truth. As if compatibility is written in numbers instead of understanding. As if hearts are supposed to align based on calendars instead of connection. But they do not feel what I feel. They do not sit in the silence where I sit with her. They do not see how she understands me without forcing explanations out of me. They do not know how she listens not to reply, but to understand. That is rare. So rare that most people mistake it for something simple. But it is not simple, it is rare emotional maturity shaped by experience, shaped by time, shaped by life itself. When I am with her, I do not feel judged. I do not feel questioned. I do not feel like I have to become someone else to be accepted. I feel seen. And being seen fully is something most people never experience in their entire life. She does not compete. She does not chase the world. She does not try to prove anything to anyone. She knows who she is, not because life was easy, but because life forced her to understand herself deeply. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions. And what remains after that is truth. She is calm, not because nothing ever happened to her, but because everything already did and she survived it. People confuse her calmness with simplicity. But calmness is not simple. Calmness is earned. Every peaceful breath she takes has survived a storm before it. And still, she did not become bitter. That is what people do not understand. Bitterness is easy. Coldness is easy. Distrust is easy. But she chose none of that. She chose softness. Even after everything. Even after disappointment. Even after loss. That is not childish. That is strength refined by life itself. And when she laughs like she is free for a moment, it confuses people who expect pain to define her forever. But pain does not own her. It only shaped her. Her joy is not ignorance. Her joy is survival. Because when someone has known darkness, even small light feels like life returning again. And I respect that light in her. I respect the way she does not demand attention but still commands presence. I respect the way she does not force love but naturally becomes someone you care for deeply. I respect the way she does not control but still protects the space between us with quiet understanding. She is not insecure. She is not chaotic. She is not confused. She is stable. And in a world where emotions often feel like storms, stability feels like peace. When I am with her, something inside me settles. Not because life becomes perfect, but because it becomes honest. There is no pretending. No performing. No hiding behind masks. Just two people understanding each other without noise. And that is something I cannot trade for anything else. People can think what they want. They always do. But they were never inside this connection. They were never inside the silence where everything feels clear without needing explanation. I did not choose her because she is older. I chose her because she is real. And realness is something this world loses easily, but I refuse to ignore when I find it. Because love is not about approval. It is not about approval from society. It is not about fear of judgment. It is about recognition. And I recognize her. Not as a label. Not as a number. But as a soul that understands me in a way very few people ever will. And if the world misunderstands that, then let it misunderstand. Some truths are not meant to be explained to everyone. Some truths are only meant to be lived. There are moments in life when silence becomes heavier than words. Not because you have nothing to say, but because everything you say will be misunderstood by people who never tried to understand you in the first place. That is where I am now. Standing between truth and judgment. And still choosing truth. People ask questions that sound simple on the surface, but carry ignorance underneath. They ask me why her. They ask me why this connection. They ask me why not someone else. As if love is a decision made on demand. As if the heart is supposed to submit to public approval before it feels something real. But love does not work like that. Love does not wait for permission. Love does not check age charts. Love does not calculate distance between lives. Love simply arrives, and changes everything quietly. And when it arrived in my life, it did not ask who is watching. It only asked if I am ready to understand. She came into my life not as an idea, not as a fantasy, not as something temporary to pass time with. She came as reality, complex, deep, and human. A woman who has already lived through chapters I am still learning to understand. And maybe that is exactly why I feel safe with her. Because she does not pretend. She does not act like everything is easy. She does not decorate truth with lies just to make it comfortable. She tells the world as it is, not as people wish it to be. That honesty, that rawness, that clarity, it changes you. People think age is the difference between us. But they are wrong. The real difference is experience. And experience is not something you can measure with years alone. It is measured in what life has taken from you, and what you still manage to keep inside your heart. She has lost things. She has been disappointed. She has been tested in ways I cannot fully imagine. But instead of turning cold, she turned wise. Instead of turning distant, she turned aware. Instead of turning bitter, she turned stronger. And yet, she still knows how to love. That is what shocks people the most. Because the world expects pain to destroy softness. But she is proof that pain can also refine it. She does not love like someone who is searching. She loves like someone who understands the value of what she gives. And when someone like that chooses to care for you, it is not ordinary. It is not casual. It is not temporary. It is intentional. There is a difference between someone who needs you, and someone who chooses you. She chose me. Not because she had to. Not because she was lonely. But because she saw something in me that she respected, even before I fully understood myself. And that kind of recognition changes everything inside a person. With her, I do not feel like I am performing life. I do not feel like I am trying to impress or prove anything. I do not feel like I am walking on emotional pressure. I feel like I can breathe. And that feeling, that quiet sense of being understood without explanation, is something people underestimate until they lose it. She listens in a way the world has forgotten how to listen. Not to respond. Not to judge. But to understand. Even my silence does not make her uncomfortable. She does not rush to fill it. She does not turn it into suspicion. She simply exists beside it. And that is rare. Because most people fear silence. They think silence means distance. But she knows silence can also mean peace. People outside this connection see only surface things. They see assumptions. They see labels. They see opinions formed without knowledge. But they do not see the moments that define everything. They do not see how she softens when I am tired. They do not see how she understands without asking. They do not see how she protects my peace without making noise about it. They only see what they want to see. And that is their limitation, not ours. I have learned something important through her presence in my life. Not every connection needs explanation. Not every bond needs validation. Some relationships exist not to be understood by the world, but to be understood by the two hearts inside them. She is not my confusion. She is my clarity. And clarity does not need defense. It simply exists. Sometimes I look at her and realize something very simple but very deep. She is not trying to become someone. She already is someone. She is not shaped by attention. She is shaped by experience. She is not chasing identity. She has already found it. And when a person reaches that level of self-awareness, they stop reacting to the world and start understanding it. That is why she is calm. That is why she is steady. That is why she is real. And I think that is what I was missing before her. Not love in the romantic sense, but peace. Because love without peace becomes confusion. Love without understanding becomes pressure. Love without maturity becomes chaos. But with her, it feels balanced. Not perfect, but real. And real is enough for me. So when people speak without knowing, I no longer feel the need to defend anything. I do not feel the need to convince them. I do not feel the need to justify what they were never meant to understand. Because some things are not meant to be explained. They are meant to be experienced. And I am experiencing it. Quietly. Honestly. Completely. And that is all that matters.